I think I'm live here, kids. Pretty sure, although I'm looking at the YouTube stream, it doesn't seem. It says I'm live. Okay. I think I'm live here, kids. All right. Pretty sure, although I'm looking at the YouTube stream. Well, we're going. I'm going in. I'm going in, kids. I'm going in. Hello, hello. How are you? It's Jason Justice. I'm a member of the Denver Green Party Local, and today is the first in a series that we're going to do on Howie Hawkins' book, The Case for the Independent Left Party. This is super important right now because many things are happening with the Green Party nationally. I'm sure some of you have heard about that. After we talk about the first chapter of Howie's book, we're definitely going to chat about that a little bit and about democracy and about how committed we are as the Green Party of Colorado, Green Party of Denver, to the idea of democracy, grassroots democracy. And that means that we are not nominating anyone until the nominating convention, till the presidential nominating convention, which will happen next year. And so you won't see posts about individual candidates on our wall. If you find a candidate that you think is cool and you want to support them, by all means, reach out to the campaign. That is not our job. Our job is not to run the campaign, to run campaigns until after the nominating convention where we go all in, right? It's just we're hyper democratic that way. We always have been, at least in the last 4 or 5 years. Um, we we believe that people should have a chance, but we also believe that candidates should be serious. And so, anyway, jumping away from that into the first chapter of The Case for the Independent Left Party by Howie Hawkins. And this is narrated by our great comrade and good friend, Eric Tro. So, without further ado, let's give a listen. It's about 5 minutes long. I may stop it and interject some ideas, but we'll definitely talk about some of this stuff afterwards. So, here we go.
Part 1. Will Seth Ackerman's party within the party work? The Sanders wing of the resistance is debating whether to take over and reform the Democratic Party or lead Reform Democrats out and into a new progressive party. Many in this camp advocate a so-called inside-outside strategy of supporting progressive Democrats or independents, depending on the dynamics of the particular race.
Let me pause that right there. Seth Ackerman is an editor at Jacobin, and he has a lot of really amazing, really great articles. But this is where I believe that Howie, myself, and many others within this party part ways with him.
The Working Families Party has pursued this approach since the 1990s, using the fusion tactic of running Democrats on their own ballot line as well as the Democratic line in the 7 states where cross-endorsement is permitted. Seth Ackerman's Blueprint for a New Party, featured in the post-election issue of the socialist journal Jacobin, advocates a party-within-the-party model where a Democratic mass membership organization would function as a political party, only without its own ballot line due to the obstacles thrown up by America's close state regulation of parties, which serves to protect the two-party system.
Okay, I'm going to pause that right there. Again, um, the party within the party idea. Um, we're going to move them to the left, Democrats, that is. Um, we're not going to really be talking about Republicans because we don't dance with the fash. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. We don't. The only people that make the fascists relevant in this country are the neoliberals and the liberals in the elected halls of Congress, in our state houses, and that kind of a thing, because they're the only people that give them legitimacy. We don't give them any legitimacy. So we're not going to talk about them during this. This is about specifically about the Democrats, and why we're not the left wing of the Democratic Party, and why Mr. Ackerman is so very wrong, and Bernie Sanders was, God bless him, but so very wrong about and AOC and you name it, go on down the list. They're very wrong about being able to push this capitalist party to the left, to a left that embraces the idea of anti-capitalism. It just ain't going to happen. Here's more from Eric Troe.
In Ackerman's blueprint, the new working class party would run its own candidates on Democratic, independent, or third party ballot lines, depending on the race. The inside outside and party within the party approaches are nothing new. The failures of fusion go back to the political suicide of the People's Party in 1896 when it cross endorsed Democrat William Jennings Bryan for president. A succession of parties over 80 years in fusion-friendly New York, the American Labor Party, the Liberal Party, and the Working Families Party, have been co-opted into being adjuncts to the Democratic Party, not alternatives to it. The initially independent Vermont Progressive Party has embraced fusion with Democrats in recent elections and appears to be headed toward the same destination. The party within the party approach has been tried in a variety of forms since the late 1930s by labor PACs, or political action committees, waves of Reformed Democrat club networks, McGovern's New Politics, Michael Harrington's Democratic Socialists of America, Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition, Howard Dean's Democracy for America, Dennis Kucinich's Progressive Democrats of America, Obama's Organizing for America, and now Sanders' Our Revolution. Over the course of these many efforts over the decades, the reformers have been defeated and co-opted, with the corporate New Democrats steadily displacing liberal New Deal Democrats. The political dynamic of all inside-outside approaches leads increasingly inside the Democratic Party. One must disavow outside options in order to be allowed inside Democratic committees, campaigns, primary ballots, and debates. Instead of changing the Democratic Party changes inside-outside activists. Careerism sets in. Many of the veterans of these inside-outside organizations who at one time talked of, quote, realignment of the parties to create an American Labor Party or Rainbow Party became Democratic operatives and politicians whose careers depend on loyalty to corporate Democrats.
I believe that we can see that happening right now. Let's take AOC, for example. Um, she got elected with the help of the Democratic Socialists of America in her district, but has not been a challenge to Nancy Pelosi or to the corporate wing of the Democrats there. She's not been able to, she and the squad have not been able to coalesce any kind of power against those forces. And on top of that, these so-called progressive champions wrap their arms around a murderous foreign policy that is propagated by the Democrat and Republican, the duopolist party, right? Um, let's let's just I'm just going to point at one place, Venezuela. We can't leave them alone. We can't not sanction them. They have their own elections, they're their own country, but because of our interventionist foreign policy, which AOC and the rest of the squad wrap their arms around. Uh, it's pretty disgusting to see. We're not they're they're not an independent voice, and they're not standing up hard enough against uh, the Democratic Party as far as the corporate Democrats and their interests. Here we go. A little more of Eric.
Sanders followed this logic from the start of his 2015-2016 presidential campaign when he conceded, in order to be accepted onto primary ballots and into debates, that he would support the Democratic nominee and not run as an independent.
Yes, we're kept out of the debates. That's pretty obvious. So I guess that Sanders was right in his mind, to do that, but he had quite a movement behind him, and he could have made a move to become independent, and really would have been able to mount a challenge against the establishment. But in the end of the day, he's part of the establishment.
He has continued further down this path since the election with his support for progressive candidates for Democratic Party offices in an effort to, quote, transform the party, as well as for progressive Democratic candidates for public offices.
As a former Democratic Party operative, and let me just caveat this, I've been a member of the Green Party for about 10 years now. But before that, I worked on the Obama campaign in '08. I was on the state platform committee. I was on the county platform committee. I was on the state appointment committee. I was also a captain of the House district. And I knew then that it was just really all about people getting their picture taken with whatever the celeb du jour happened to be in the Democratic Party. Oh, I want to get my picture taken with Hickenlooper. And then it's their Facebook profile picture. Um, and really, one of the two of the biggest, three of the biggest things that turned me away from the Democratic Party was their need to privatize the public schools, more privatization of the commons that we pay taxes for. Their global endorsement of this interventionist military policy in the military industrial complex, and then of course the uh, um, the the Palestinian apartheid, and then the Likud apartheid regime that exists in Israel right now. When I was on the platform committee in '08, we wanted to change some of the language on the Democratic platform, saying that Israel needed to pull back to their 1967 borders. Maybe that was naive, probably a little bit, but the genocide that's happening amongst Palestinians is absolutely ridiculous. So when we decided we wanted to put that plank in, that's when all the elected officials showed up and said that we couldn't do it, and that they weren't going to allow us to bring the platform to the floor at the state convention. It was really quite telling. What I'd found out later is that one of the first things that happens to an elected official of any seriousness, state legislature, even the city council here in Denver, they fly him. The APAC flies them over to Israel and gives them the pep talk about why the Palestinians should live under siege. So I believe that Israel should exist. On the other hand, I don't believe in genocide of any people.
Ackerman's blueprint astutely criticizes most of these efforts, including Sanders' Our Revolution for being top down nonprofits without accountability to an organized membership. But his blueprint still falls into the same trap of failing to establish the left's public identity as an alternative advocating socialist system change that is opposed to and independent of the pro capitalist Democrats.
Pro capitalist Democrats, socialism. In Colorado, the Green Party of Colorado, the Green Party of Denver is specifically an eco socialist party.
By failing to act on its own and speak for itself in U.S. elections since the late 1930s, the left has disappeared from public view. It lost its voice and a platform from which to be heard. Ackerman's blueprint offers no answers for the inevitable practical pitfalls that his party within the party, like previous inside-outside efforts, would face. When progressives lose Democratic primaries, the inside-outside groups must support the corporate Democrat as the lesser evil to the corporate Republican if they are to remain accepted inside the Democratic Party. When progressive Democrats win, they must caucus with corporate Democrats and muffle their criticisms of them in order to remain acceptable. They end up providing a progressive patina to the thoroughly capitalist Democrats they set out to change.
Janet Yellen is the second cabinet secretary to make a
Sorry.
goodwill mission to Beijing in the last few weeks.
Okay. It jumped from our video to Face the Nation. Oh my goodness.
Was
So that was Eric Troe. We have there's a number of chapters coming up. Next not next week, but in 2 weeks, we're gonna do chapters 2 and 3. But I want to talk a little bit right now about the Green Party nationally and why you're gonna, already. I guess the elephant in the room is that Dr. Cornel West would like to seek our nomination for president. It's not a foregone conclusion. He still has to get nominated at the state level, and then there is a national nominating convention, just like every other political party on the planet. So what I think is this is that what's going to happen, at least I know in Denver County and in the state of Colorado, is that we're not going to be putting uh, um, West campaign uh, pieces up on our website unless they have to do with things like ballot access, which is a real difficult thing, and I don't think people really understand the uphill battle that we have for ballot access in this country. Let me lay it out for you. We only have ballot access in 16 states, one of them being Colorado. Um, in other states, you have every other state, you have to petition to get on the ballot. And so in places like New York, where Howie Hawkins he's from Syracuse. He's run for governor there a couple of 3 times. He tried getting on the ballot this last time, but the gift that oh man, I'm trying to think of his name. Uh, the dude they just chased out, Cuomo. His gift to the Green Party of New York was to up the amount of ballot signatures that they had to get to, I mean, something like 70,000 within, or 30,000 even within a 90-day period. Um, Folks, we don't take corporate donations. We, I'll help you in just a second. Mark Lee Machine. Um, as far as getting involved here in the state of Colorado, I'll get to that in a second. But so all over the country, there is voter suppression going on of third parties, not necessarily the Libertarian Party, because they take corporate money and they're able to get on the ballot in many places. And they're not really a threat to the Republicans, just like we're not really a threat to the Democrats. They want to say that we are, but we're not. Ralph Nader really didn't have the effect that they say he did in 2000. Let me post a little article about that, which I think is pretty It's from Reason. It's about it's around the 2000 election, and no, Ralph Nader did not cost the Democrats the election in Florida. It was Democrats signing. It was Democrats who were. Hang on. I don't know why it's telling me to sign in to chat, but it's telling me to sign into chat. All right, here we go. Here's that article. Um, so it wasn't Nader. It was 1.5 million Democrats who voted for George W. Bush. That's what happened in Florida. So, People's Party, Eric Brana, which is the guy that runs it, has ballot access in one state, that's Florida. We have ballot access in 16 states. We're trying to petition on. We have various legal fights going on around the country to get us on the ballot. But um, the Democrats think that we take votes away from them. We don't. People that vote green are going to vote green no matter what. If you were going to vote for Jill Stein, you were going to vote for Jill Stein. You weren't going to vote for Hillary. You weren't going to vote for frickin' Trump. In 2000, I believe that the media blackout on Howie Hawkins, and then just the sheer amount of I'll just say it right out loud, fuckery that happened around the country in denying ballot access to the Hawkins campaign is just unprecedented. And so to think that Dr. West is going to perhaps be our nominee for president if he doesn't drop out beforehand, um, and to think that he is somehow going to be able to get the 5% of the vote that needs to happen for us to go from this minor party status to getting federal money that could really change the game for us nationally, is kind of a pipe dream. So, what we have to do in Colorado, where we have to answer in a roundabout way to get to your question, um, is that we have to organize within the state. The pandemic killed us. The A lot of folks put a lot of the weight of organizing in this party on our state co-chair, on the Honorable Andrea Merida. She was the campaign manager for Howie Hawkins' campaign, and everyone just assumed that she would continue to be the heavy lift. But we can't do this alone. We're an all volunteer group, right? Um, I've seen people comment even recently. I am not getting any response. I've been sending messages, blah, blah, blah. Well, people got to work, people got to eat, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this live stream, why I'm talking to you about the importance of a third party movement in this country, of a left third party movement, of a socialist third party movement, and that's us. So in the state of Colorado, there aren't a lot of locals online right now. Denver County is online. Arapahoe County is online. Denver County is kind of acting as a catch-all for a lot of different folks from around the state. I've had some people reach out to me from Longmont. Markley Machine, where are you? What part of the state are you in? You can just answer on the chat. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at right now. We have not a lot of people, and people got to work, people got to eat. One of the failures of the party within the party system, like with the Working Families Party here in the state of Colorado. Oh, you're in Jeffco? Cool, cool, very cool. Um, we should My name is Jason Justice. You can go to our Denver Green page and message us there directly, and then I can talk to you a little bit more about what we can do out in Jeffco. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of work that's going to have to be done. The failure of groups like the Working Families Party here in Colorado is that, well, let's just look at it right now. There's no rent control in Denver. The rents in this town are out of control. They're out of control all around the state, but specifically in Denver in the metro area, there's not going to be. Anytime that rent control gets up there, Jared Polis, like the good billionaire that he is, he's got to protect his donor class, and those are definitely the developers. So, um, yeah, that's one of the biggest obstacles that we have, is that there is no left voice pushing our legislators to the left. Right now, we have a crisis, supposedly a migrant crisis here in Denver. And a lot of those migrants are supposedly from Venezuela. Well, there wouldn't be a migrant crisis at the border if we didn't have draconian sanctions on the Maduro government. I don't care what you think about the Maduro government. They were duly elected by their own people, and that's none of our business. We need to keep our fat thumb out of that. We need to keep our fat thumb out of the global south. Um, we need to keep our fat thumb out of the Middle East. We need to figure out a way we can bring both sides of the table in Ukraine together and stop this craziness. Now we're giving the Ukrainians cluster bombs. Great. I'm sure that there's depleted uranium rounds in there. Ask the children who were born after the Battle of Fallujah in Iraq, where we used a ton of depleted uranium munitions. Ask them about the arm they were born without, or the birth defects that they had when after their mothers were exposed to these depleted uranium rounds. It's just unconscionable, and this is one of the reasons why we need a third party voice. We need a leftist voice. In Colorado, the issues are obviously rent control. In Colorado, the issues are obviously the houseless situation. Um, I saw the other day that there was actually a judge that put an injunction on cities from going in and sweeping uh, the houseless population off the streets. Let's let's be let's remember where these camping bans came from. That came from the Obama administration during Occupy. And that was a way that municipalities could shut down the Occupy movement, was by enacting these camping bans. So, what do we do? Well, reach out to us at the Denver Green Wall on our Facebook page, because we'd love to talk to you. Um, there is a process to becoming a voting member here in Denver County. You have to be a dues paying member, because we don't take corporate donations. And so, for a couple of dollars a month, you can be, we're gonna ask you questions. We're gonna vet you about your politics, and we definitely want to find a place for you. And if you're in another county, if you're in Longmont, if you're in Fort Collins, if you're in Colorado Springs, all of those locals just kind of withered away and died on the vine. And so we definitely need new blood. We need a new focus. And I think the focus right now is got to be pretty obvious. It's rent control. It's finding solutions for the houseless problem that makes sense. That most people that are houseless want to live in a house. This propaganda that you hear about, they don't want a place to live. Well, there's a few people out there that don't want to be under the government's thumb, whatever. That's fine. But the most people want a place to live, and most and over half the people that are houseless are working on jobs. So I think those in Colorado, those are really the big things. Obviously, another thing is police violence, over policing of neighborhoods. We're very concerned about that. We just paid $30 million out in Denver County to protesters from the George Floyd uprising who were shot in the face with non-lethal munitions and lost eyes, shot in the genitals. This is just part and parcel of the way that the police respond to leftist or peaceful protesters. So, but nationally, the war, the military industrial complex, obviously has got to be dealt with. That's gonna be a really difficult thing. But for us to be heard as Greens around the country, we have to have ballot access. And unfortunately, the Democrats fight against that at all times. There's a lot of people being disenfranchised from their voting rights in this country, from black people and brown people to leftists to Green Party people, because we're generally on the left. So that's about it. You know, Nobody's pushing our legislature to move in the direction that we want it to move in. And so that's kind of up to us. And that's one of the things I want to talk to you about over the coming up weeks, talking about Howie's book, talking about what we're doing in Denver County, what we're planning on doing, our statewide plan as well. So stay tuned for all of that. I'm going to end the stream. I promised that this wasn't going to be an hour and 20 and a 2 hour live stream. So 35 minutes, I think I did very well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, for the Denver Green Party, my name is Jason Justice. Join us again in 2 weeks where we go to chapters 2 and 3 of Howie's book, The Case for the Independent